Every Swift developer wants better, faster results, but Xcode, for all its power, isn't the best when it comes to its AI assistant. It's gotten better with ChatGPT 5, but still some quirks to work out. Meet Cursor. This is a AI-first editor that understands your entire codebase and can generate or refactor Swift instantly. Xcode still gives us the compiler, debugger, and the simulator, but Cursor gives us contextual reasoning, multi-file awareness, and smart refactoring. The magic happens, as we'll see in a little bit, when you use both together. Cursor writes the code, and Xcode proves that it works. So how do we get started? Well, you can head on over to cursor.com and you can choose to sign in or download, and we can see it is available for macOS, Windows, and Linux. So make sure you download the macOS version best for your computer. Once you've got it downloaded, you can go ahead and open up Cursor once it's been properly installed on your machine. Now you will need to sign up or log in. If you have yet to create an account, you can go ahead and sign up. There is a skip and continue, but if you want to use any AI features, you will need to first sign up. Sign up is pretty standard. You'll just need to include an email and password. Once you're signed on in, you might just need to do an email verification. You can see that it is asking for data sharing. Now, this is something you do need to consent to at first. Don't worry, it's paused for 24 hours, and you can go into settings and turn it off immediately if you don't want to do any data sharing. But to get started, you will need to consent to it first. I'll show you how to turn it off. So you can use Cursor completely for free, but there are other paid options. If you go to the share data, you can press edit. If you want to go into privacy mode, you'll just need to say no thank you and type out privacy mode to turn that off. I know some people don't want their code to be shared or be used for training. Totally understand that. If you're also a student, you can verify student status to get discounts, benefits, or even the program for free. Otherwise, make sure you press login. You might just need to confirm it on the desktop and press login and relaunch the app. Now we can see it wants us to import from Visual Studio Code. However, we're going to be using Xcode today. So let's go ahead and skip and continue. From there, you can choose the theme. I like that dark high contrast, why not? And you can even do a quick start. You want to use Visual Studio Code, Vim, Emacs, etc. Otherwise, we're going to be having the language. This language for AI is just the language that appears in, not the coding language. I set mine to English. You can even install it on the terminal if you wish. Otherwise, you can press continue, and from here is where we're going to really be diving into including it within Xcode. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. Okay, now that Cursor has been installed and we've signed in, we're going to be starting this off with a blank Xcode project. If you already have a project created, you can of course hook it up that way. Otherwise, I'm just going to open up Xcode like I normally do and create a new project. So I'm just going to do an iOS app. Let's just call this one Cursor Example. Make sure we're on SwiftUI, language of Swift, and go ahead and create it. Now I'm just going to put this on my desktop. You can save it wherever you need to. So this is just going to be our blank typical SwiftUI template. Now with Cursor open, we need to now open up our project. So I'm going to press on the open project. You might also be able to go to file, open folder, and choose the project root. Otherwise, I'm going to choose the project root here, which is our Cursor example, and I'm going to press open. It's going to do a little bit of thinking. It's also going to allow us, hey, can we access files in this directory? For me, it's on my desktop, so I'm going to say allow so we can actually access those items. We can also expand upon these. So if we did want to look at our content view, let's make the window a little bit bigger so we can actually see what we're working with here. We can then look under our Cursor example. We have our assets, our different Swift files, etc., etc. So now the Cursor AI has the context of all of our project. If you ever need to refresh, there's a refresh option. You can collapse the folders, add new files, as you would in any typical environment. So now here's the trick. Both apps are actually editing the same files at the same time. If I change a line in Cursor, let's go ahead and change this hello world to hello Cursor. And we hit save, so we can do Command S for that hotkey. If we tab back over into Xcode, we can see that it's made that change. So both Xcode and Cursor are looking at the exact same files at the same time. There's no refresh, no reload, it's just all disk sync. So now out of the box, Cursor's AI agent, sometimes it could be a little bit crazy and you might end up generating UIKit or even Python code. we need to teach it the SwiftUI discipline. So the way that we can do that is in our settings. So this is Shift-Command-J, or the cogwheel in the top right. We'll open up and we can actually go to the rules and memories. We can see we actually have tons of different options, including allowing us to save memory between chat. You can turn that on or off, but we have manage your custom user rules and preferences. And we don't have any user rules yet, nor do we have any project rules. Now, if you're going to be using this specifically just for Xcode, you can set up user rules. If you want something just for this project, maybe you're going to be using Cursor for Python or something else down the line, you can set it up as project only rules. So these are ways that we can tell the cursor to only reply a certain way or only using SwiftUI, etc., etc. So I'm going to go ahead and add a user rule. I'm not going to be using this for anything but the demo in Xcode today. And we can see that we have style, request, response language, tone, and we can customize this. I'd recommend typing the following lines. You can tweak it if you want. I would say all new UI must use SwiftUI. We can be as specific as we want. So maybe we want it to follow the MVVM pattern with observable objects. I'm usually pretty bad at spelling, so I'm just double checking. I think we're good. We can also say like things like we want to prefer structs over classes or any data models, as well as if we want to use things like lazy vars or any expensive computed properties in classes. This is just the way that I've chosen to set up mine. If there's any other additions that you want to make, even if it's like color choices or always including things like accessibility, you can add it within the user or project rules, because these rules kind of become Cursor's developer brain. So now when we go to prompt it, the model is going to follow these conventions automatically. You might just need to press done, might save, and we have our rules. We can always edit or delete it later. Okay, we have tons of other settings you can get into if you really want to customize your experience. Otherwise, we'll keep it pretty simple with this new coding brain, and we're going to be generating something. So I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to open up the chat. If you don't have the chat open automatically, you'll see the toggle AI pane. It is Option Command B. You'll see that we use a little chat here, and we have a tab, as well as if we want to add a browser for any computer use, we totally can. And we can also change it from agent, plan, background, or ask. We're going to be using the agent because we wanted to do some coding for us today. So I'm going to say generate a login screen. We can also choose to include images. Otherwise, let's go ahead and send. Hands off the keyboard, it thought for 1 second. It's reading the content view, and it's also reading the app file. So it's giving you context as to what it's actually accessing. Then it's going to be creating a new file, the login view model Swift. We can actually tab on over to it here, and we can see in green that it's currently being added. It's reading the file again to match the format, because we've also told it to use observable object. Remember, that was part of our agent's brain. It's using an observable object. We have foundation already added, SwiftUI, etc., etc. It's also given us some features. So it is following the MVVM architecture. It's added the UI with a gradient background. Let's go ahead and we can either choose to undo or keep. I'm going to keep it. And we can even see in the other Swift file, it's actually showing us in red what it's removed. So it's actually just removed the placeholder in our content view. I'm going to keep that change, or we can select keep all. Okay, let's go ahead and save. Let's tab on back over to Xcode, and we can see here that we do get a little bit of an error because we do not conform the protocol to observable object. So Cursor can also help us with our errors, and you can even choose to copy and paste this error. So if we want to go here, I know with Xcode's built-in AI, it does have to generate the fix for the error, but let's see how Cursor handles it. So I'm going to say in content view, and you can be as specific as you want. You can even say .swift. This is a good way to actually reference what file you're working in. You can actually even see here, it's a little bit highlighted. We're getting the following error on line, double check what line that was, 15. And we can paste the error. You can say, please fix it, maybe please advise. You even have to say please. Some people are like, don't use please and thank you with AI. I mean, I'm Canadian, it's in my blood. So let's see how it's going to then handle the error. So it's going to be adding the combine import. You can see here, hopefully it's going to be adding it to both of these. So we can see that the error is resolved because now that we're referencing this login view model, even though the error was on the content view, it's just because the login model didn't have the import of combine. Something you may want to do in your brain is say, when using observable object, always make sure you're importing combine. Pretty quick error to fix. Okay, so we can go back into Xcode. We can then run our app. Okay, and here is our simple login screen. We can see we have a welcome back, sign in to continue. We have the placeholders to actually enter our email. We can type in here. And let's see if it made the password a secure field. Awesome. And then we can press the sign in button. We actually get a little progress view. And this says welcome. You've successfully logged in, which is pretty cool. We actually, if we really want to take a look at the login view model to see how it's done. And we even have some guards with some, well, if these things are empty, please fill in all fields. If it doesn't contain a correct email, so it doesn't have the @ sign, and it actually even is showing us how it's simulating that delay. And hey, you would even make a real API call here. So we just asked it for a simple login screen and it's done just that. Let's go ahead and try to push Cursor a little bit further. Let's now ask it to create quote view .swift that displays a random quote with an inspire me button. We could even be very specific, like use @state for the quotes. Okay, let's go ahead and ask it. You'll also notice, especially if you're on the free account like I am, the more that you're using and making these requests, there's like a little % and like a little progress view in the bottom right that's actually showing us the amount of context that we've used. So every time that you send a request, if it's something large, like create a new SwiftUI view or, change some logic here, it will use up more context. If it's something small, like a quick bug fix, maybe 1 or 2%. So you can actually keep track of how much you have used. So while I was explaining that, we were able to create a quote view with a quote struct and a property. We can check it out here. We can decide to keep all. And there we go. There's our quote view. So something I'm curious. Oh, it actually included a preview. So let's hop back over into Xcode. We still will need to use Xcode to preview any of these files here. So let's open up our quote view and check out our canvas. The only way to do great work is to love what you do, Steve Jobs. And we can press the inspire me and we get a new quote every single time. It's used all Swift and SwiftUI. We actually have the state private var for the current quote like we asked it to. And the UI is actually pretty responsive. You can see as these quote sizes changes, the box that's being displayed changes it. And for our last prompt in this tutorial, we're going to ask it to hook everything together. So we'll say upon successfully logging in, the user should be taken to the quote view. We can do .swift here, so it recognizes that file. I'd always recommend being as specific as possible. Let's go ahead and send it. We'll see if it does the proper connections. And from there, we'll have a cool little demo, and then we'll do a wrap up. Once again, you can actually manually approve or see all the changes ahead of time. So if you do want to do a little bit of a review, you can. I would generally not suggest blindly pressing keep all. For the sake of the demo, we'll go ahead and do that. Let's hop back over in Xcode and run it on the simulator. Okay, let's go ahead and log in. hello@hello.com. A little password. Let's go ahead and sign in. We can see our simulated network delay, which is great. It should take us to the quote view, and I believe it also mentioned that it's going to include a logout button, and we can see in the top right logout. So now we have everything that we had it create working in tandem. And now if we press log out, we get sent all the way back to the beginning. So this is pretty cool. It is a separate client, so we're not using the AI that was added directly into Xcode with ChatGPT, and I think Claude Code is now included. I'll probably make a quick tutorial showing you how to set that one up as well. But just as a few extra notes before you start diving into Cursor and Xcode, whenever you have any build errors, as we saw with the one where it's just missing the combine error, where it's just missing the combine import, whenever Xcode throws an error, you can copy that message and paste it into Cursor. The AI will debug and rewrite the line for you. Always feel free to include context if it's on a certain line in a certain Swift file. More information is better than less information. Another note is for version control. Because both Xcode and Cursor, these IDEs modify the same files, use Git to keep it clean. You can even do your commits straight from Cursor or from Xcode, whatever one you want to use. Commit often to avoid any weird merge conflicts. There are some experimental alternatives. Tools like SweetPad try to run builds outside of Xcode, but to be honest with you, nothing beats Apple's native debugger and sliding tools. So often, if you want to use Cursor for writing the code, always have Xcode open or plan to open it again to do any testing with previews or with the simulator. Always keep Xcode as the final authority. So here is the workflow recap. Cursor thinks fast. Then once we've had our code, we've reviewed it, we've added it, we can just open Xcode where everything's synced from the disk. Again, use that source control, and then Xcode will build it right. You can combine them and you get the best of both worlds. The AI speed from Cursor and the Apple's reliability for developing on iOS, macOS, etc. Cursor and Xcode can be your next Swift superpowers. If you want this example that we created today for whatever reason, I will be putting it on my GitHub so you can check it out or clone fork the repository if you would like. But I think a big part of the vibe coding is creating whatever your mind is thinking of and then using AI to support that creation. So that is how to use Cursor and Xcode together to create some wonderful apps. Look at vibe coding. There's lots of cool things that you can get through Cursor. Try it out for free if you'd like. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I do think it is cool to test out all the new tools, see if you like them. There are also opportunities if you are a student. You might be able to get a discount or possibly any of these tools for free. So, always recommend at least checking them out, seeing if you like them. Otherwise, dream big, code bigger, and we'll see you in the next one.